Hey, Chris Baker here. As you may or may not know, I started my career at the official US PlayStation magazine in the year 2000. 3 months into that, I was blessed with the opportunity to not only write a mammoth X-Men feature, because the movie was coming out and it was a really big deal at the time, but it was also a chance for me to interview a pop culture icon, someone I admired for years, Stan Lee. With his recent passing, I went back and listened to this interview, and it was kind of hard. Not just because it was very emotional in some ways, but it was literally hard because there was so much static in the background. It's still rough, but with the help of Evan Hayes on Fiverr, we've been able to clean it up so that it's not just downright painful to listen to, which it really was before. Along with my autographed copy of this interview, just having it recorded, well, all but the first 45 seconds anyway, that was accidentally recorded over, I consider it a prized possession, which is a lot to say for a microcassette tape. I hope you enjoy the interview.
Give you a tip. Nobody on earth knows less about PlayStations than I do. And I have really been not too much in the loop at Marvel for the past year or so.
Okay.
So I've no authority on what's going on. I mean, I'm happy to talk to you about it, but I don't really know much about what's going on currently.
That's
except what I read in the paper, or sometimes a guy will call me and whisper something to me.
Yeah, okay. I just want to ask you basically some general questions and stuff.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I read yesterday about how you're going to be working on some DC projects.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
In USA Today?
It excited me. Actually, it was on the Comic Continuum. And then, it's a website, like a daily rumors and stuff type website.
What do they call it? The Comic Continuum?
Comic Continuum. It's,
with an S at the end of Comic?
Yeah.
I got to tune into that. I never heard of it.
It's a really cool website. It's like...
God, there's so many.
I'm sure there are.
Comics? Is it one word?
Yes, Comic Continuum.
C-O-N-U-U-M.
That's right.
.com is one word. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
no problem.
And I read that, and it just really excited me. And how did that all come about?
Well, there's a guy named Michael Usland who he was one of the producers of all the Batman movies. He has a connection to DC, and he came to me one day and asked if I would like to reinvent all the DC heroes and heroines.
Yeah.
And I said, "What have you been smoking?" And he said, "No, I mean it." I said, "Well, you may mean it, but they won't." So he said, "Well, let me ask him." So he left. Came back a while later, a couple weeks later, I don't know. He said, "Hey, they'd love to do it, Stan." Well, this is the last thing I ever expected, but if you're a writer, how do you say no to a project like that?
Exactly.
To take all those characters and do them as if they had never been done before, and you're just betting.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so like a moron, I said I would do it, and now I'm wondering where I'm going to get the time and how I'm going to figure out what to do. But anyway, it's exciting.
Yeah,
so that's how it came about.
I'm sure your new Stanley Media is keeping you pretty busy, huh?
Oh, only like 24 hours a day.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Pardon me?
A little bit more about Stanley Media.
Well, Stanley Media is, of course, the finest, most cultural website in the universe. And what we're doing, basically we're trying to do what we did years ago at Marvel Comics, just establish a place that will have its own style of storytelling and that people will come to purely for entertainment. We just want to be an entertaining channel.
Right.
So I'm trying to create some new characters, superhero type, fantasy type, and even some little comedic interstitials that we can put on our website in serial form, like the Perils of Pauline, to make people want to come back for the next installment all the time. And we're doing them with animation rather than just still pictures. We're doing them with actors reading the roles rather than just dialogue balloons. So we think of them as mini movies.
Yeah.
And they're only about 4 minutes in length, but we can make 4 minutes seem like an eternity.
And a great eternity it would be. I saw you have some video games attached to those, was it the Seventh Portal? Video game attached to it?
Yeah, well, that's the, what do they call that? The wait time. or something.
Yeah.
Saying that's while you're waiting for your set to load, we don't want you to run away, so we give you something to do.
Yeah. You said you didn't really know much about PlayStation. Do you know anything about like other video games in general?
You know, I really don't.
Okay, that's fine.
I just don't have time to play them or look at them or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they exist, but that's about all.
Okay. Well, how did you get started in the whole comics industry in the first place?
I figured you're thinking to yourself, you just knowing about life. I just blew the whole interview. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly all right.
Okay. How did I get started with what? How did I get started with what?
With the whole comics industry. How did you get into
With the comics industry?
Yeah.
Well, we go back a few years.
Oh, yeah.
There was a job open in a publishing company, and I applied for it. I didn't even know they published comics.
Wow.
Went up there, found out there were comics. I figured, well, I'll hang around here for a few months, get some experience, and then get into the real world. I'm still waiting to get the experience and join the real world.
I love the world that you're in, though, now.
Yeah, I'm getting to like it, too.
If comics didn't exist, what do you see yourself doing?
If comics didn't exist, well, I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be a writer. I always thought I'd write the great American novel.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an actor. I belonged to something called the Federal Theater, the WPA Federal Theater, when I was about 17 or 18. Orson Welles was a member. It was a great organization, but it didn't pay anything, which is why I became a writer.
Right.
And I always wanted to be a lawyer, because I saw a movie once with John Barrymore called The Great Mouthpiece. He was so wonderful the way he pleaded a case in front of the jury. I realize now it was very hammy, but as a 10-year-old kid, that was the height of glamour to plead a case in front. I didn't realize you also have to study. And I wanted to be everything, so I don't know. I'd probably have been a bum is what I'd probably have been.
Well, of course you put out so many great comics over the years, like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Hulk, Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, X-Men. Forgive me if I left anything
You forgot the Iron Man. You forgot Sergeant Fury. What's the matter with you? I'm hanging up. Oh, another thing I wanted to be, I always loved advertising. In fact, I treated all Marvel comics like one big ad campaign.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually majored in advertising.
You did? Well, then you understand. When I read a magazine like Time or Fortune, I read the ads as closely as the copy.
Definitely. Yeah, it's great.
Advertising is terrific.
Well, how does it make you feel like when someone says to you, you're the reason that I'm interested in comics?
When Mel Brooks did that record, The 2,000-Year-Old Man, you ever hear of it?
No, I haven't.
Anyway, he did a record. He pretended to be a 2,000-year-old man, and he's being interviewed by Carl Reiner. And Carl Reiner asks him, "Did you know Robin Hood? Did you know this one?" Then he said, "Did you know Joan of Arc?" He says, "Yes." And Reiner says, "How did you feel when she was burnt at the stake?" And Mel Brooks says, "Terrible." He's got a big laugh. So what you just asked me, how did I feel?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're doing.
What was your question?
Just how does it make you feel when people,
How does it make me feel to be famous and everything?
when people tell you, like...
It makes me feel very nice.
Good answer.
It makes me feel nice. Good. It feels good. I don't know how to answer that.
I don't know.
I get a lot, truthfully, the main feeling is one of a little bit of embarrassment.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always figured, there are people building bridges and discovering cures for illnesses and stuff. And I wrote a few goddamn little stories. What's the big deal?
They're great stories.
Well, I'm not going to argue about that.
How would you say that comics have evolved since, say, the 60s when you created all this great heritage?
Well, comics now, that I think the more attention is paid to the illustration. Where the artists used to be just comic book artists and they drew well, now they're really illustrators. Everything is everything seems to be, all the attention, or most of the attention seems to be focused on the artwork. I mean, there are some people who buy books because of the way they're drawn, they don't even know what the story's about. And also comics have gotten a little bit grittier, a little darker, a little more adult. I don't think that's the right word, but you know what I mean.
You think that's a good thing?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see both sides of the coin there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a personal favorite creation of yours that you created over the years?
No, I like them all. I really any story of mine that I think of it immediately becomes my favorite because I thought of it. Sometimes I'll pick up an old magazine, an old Fantastic Four, or Daredevil, or Hulk, or anything, and I'll read it and think, "Wow, this is great!" Yeah. It almost like I had nothing to do with it.
Right.
I'm my biggest fan, I might add.
That's perfectly all right. Sometimes, I got to say, as a writer, I look back at my old stuff and it's like, I wrote this. This is actually pretty good.
There you go. Then you understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did your idea for the X-Men come from?
Well, I wanted to get another team of heroes. I had already done the Fantastic Four, and the biggest problem with this sort of thing is figuring out how do they get their superpower.
Exactly.
And I was sick of trying to think of new reasons, so I took the cowardly way out. I figured all I got to do is say that they're mutants. They were born that way. So that made it easy. I didn't have to explain anything.
Have you ever gotten anything like from, scientists or anybody saying there's no way this could happen?
No. Scientists know better than to ever refute anything I say.
Exactly.
No, I never. Listen, I never even heard from scientists when I indicated how Thor managed to fly.
Yeah.
He swings his hammer and it's attached to his wrist, so when he lets the hammer go, it goes flying off in the air and it pulls him along with it. You'd think some scientists would have said this is a little illogical, but I think Jack Kirby drew it so beautifully that people believed it.
It's incredibly believable. Why do you think the X-Men are so popular?
I think they're all colorful characters. They each have different powers. The kids love that, and also they were written beautifully. They each had their own personality, characterization. That's what counts in the story. And I think we gave the X-Men more personality than probably any other group at the time.
Have you had any say at all in the X-Men movie at all?
Not really.
No. I read a rumor that you're actually going to do a cameo.
Well, the director is a friend of mine, Brian Singer, and he proposed that I do a walk-on or something. I said I'd love to, but they've been shooting in Toronto and I'm down here.
Yeah.
And they may shoot a few scenes here, in which case maybe you'll catch a glimpse of me crossing the street or something. But at the moment, nothing has been done.
Okay. Have you seen any more of it than the general public?
No, I haven't. I just saw the trailer the other day.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Trailer. I'd want to see it after seeing that trailer.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people around here who don't know that much about the X-Men, and they see the trailer and like, cool, I want to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's seen one, though.
Yeah.
I've got my fingers crossed. I hope it'll be a big hit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's almost all that I have. I just wanted one last thing from you.
One last thing, okay?
Tell me anything that's on your mind and end it with True Believer.
Tell you anything on my mind, and then I wonder when this damn interview will end, True Believer. I don't know
what I wanted to hear.
Really? You got it.
Well, thank you, Stan.
And listen, you're a good interviewer. I enjoyed this.
Thank you. I did too.
Okay, call anytime.
Absolutely.
Okay, take care now. Bye.
I've been hearing a lot of great things about Stan Lee over the past week or so since he left us. And I think this interview kind of just speaks to all those things. You know, I was just a kid, 23 years old, and he treated me with such respect. He even gave me a huge compliment saying I was a great interviewer. And that's actually the second greatest compliment he ever gave me. I'll leave it at that for now, but there's actually quite a bit more cool stuff that came out of this. And I want to do another video about that. Expect that probably in early December sometime. We miss you, Stan. Excelsior.